I don't think people realize how involved she was in this movie.
Okay, so I noticed that Twitter and TikTok have decided that there is drama between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni on set, and after making the movie, it ends with us. And now major outlets are covering it, not saying that it's true, but just reporting it as, look what people are saying. Now let me say again, this is all based on TikTokers seeing the same images we can see. And yeah, it started with the New York premiere. And they noticed that Justin didn't pose on the red carpet with anyone else. These TikTokers failed to notice that nobody posed with each other on the red carpet. Group photos aren't that valuable. Like, the photographers really don't care about big group photos because they're selling their photos to various media outlets. They want singles. Most of this is for fashion, right? Like, you see, even when Blake and Ryan arrive together, they pose together because they're a couple, but then they still want the solo Blake. So yeah, like, there's really no value in a group shot. Maybe some outlets will buy it that night to publish it, but I mean, after that, there's no real shelf life to it. Like, if somebody wants a generic red carpet photo of Blake Lively in 6 months, they don't want one where she's standing with 6 people, or even with a co-star. They want her on her own. Yeah, so that's why those group photos aren't that valuable. So that's like, it's the last priority. That's why you don't really see them on that many red carpets.
Like I said, Blake was involved in all aspects of this production.
These TikTokers are jumping all over the fact that Justin keeps on saying that Blake had a lot of say on set.
There were many instances where I honestly just tried to get out of the way and let her take the lead.
It literally took me watching the opening of the Entertainment Tonight interview on the red carpet.
This is your night, mister.
No, this isn't my night. This is a night for all the women who we made this movie for.
And the first time Justin mentions Blake in his Access Hollywood interview the day after the premiere.
And she's a producer on the film from the beginning to the end. She was extremely involved and she really made the film better.
To know what's going on here. It is extremely, extremely problematic that a male directed this movie, and Sony realized that going into the press tour of this. This is a story that is so much about a woman finding her voice in an abusive relationship, and not only is a male directing this movie, it is the male who plays the controlling, dominant character in the film. I'm not suggesting that Justin is that way in real life, but I mean, the optics of that are terrible. So the mandate from Sony, and it's good for Justin too, is to steer away from, it being a male perspective telling the story, even though it's a male director.
From the very beginning, this had to have a female point of view. This had to have a female gaze.
I took a look at how this film came to be, because I'm surprised he even directed this.
Well, in 2019, I read the book. I was sent the book by my book agent and friend at the time, and I was looking for films that could inspire.
So he bought the film rights back in 2019, and then it's produced through his production company. So yeah, I could see it being putting a lot of faith in somebody else if he gave the the directing reins over to a female to direct it. So I understand why I still want to direct it. Just like, the optics are terrible.
The first conversations I ever had about this movie was I wanted the film to reflect Lily's emotional journey, to be in her mind.
Yeah, what's done is done. At least he knows, he shouldn't be directing the sequel for this movie.
I think there are better people for that one.
Justin.
I think Blake Lively's ready to direct. That's what I think.
So now it's how you talk about the film.
And I didn't ever want my biases as a man to infiltrate or hurt the project in any way.
Blake even pushes the narrative that the author of the book was not only part of the filmmaking process, but was involved in the post-production, which is pretty unheard of. But another female voice involved.
And Colleen too. I mean, she's such a great filmmaker. She was really able to separate herself as the author and sit in that edit room.
Now on top of that, Blake was a producer on this movie, so she gets a say in the creative process. She's also the main actor in this movie. We always hear about an actor, collaborating with the co-star and the director, to figure out, how a scene is going to be played. Like, we hear that all the time, so don't get why people are freaking out that Blake was involved in that process.
When it came to intimacy and all of that, like, she had a very clear vision, and she was telling me what she thought would work and what she thought would be sexy.
You were even the intimacy coordinator in some of those sexier scenes. Like, we saw you.
That shouldn't be happening, by the way. I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have. You're supposed to, tell a story well and make people feel, but you're also supposed to do it in a way that is like safe and respectful for all.
Which is commonplace, and Justin is overemphasizing, the idea that I didn't tell a woman what to do in the intimate scenes, but it blows my mind that, it's kind of hilariously ironic too, that it's female TikTokers who are coming down on Blake, saying, she was too controlling and she was a diva, and why don't you just shut up and let the male tell you how to act in these intimate scenes. Now people are pushing the idea that Ryan Reynolds threw his weight around on set of this movie. So, when this movie started shooting, Ryan was overseas shooting Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm sure she had a nanny with her, but yeah, the kids were with Blake on set because, yeah, Ryan was overseas.
Yeah, she was always surrounded by her children, which was so sweet. It was a very family-friendly set, and my kids came to visit, and yeah, she always had her children around.
But Ryan was involved in the post-production of Deadpool and Wolverine.
And it was just like the worst job of like hunting people down to get releases. I can't tell you how many letters I wrote, how many agents I hit up. I need, Jessica Alba's number. Like, I need this. I need to get to Ian McKellen. How do I do that?
Plus, he had to go to Madonna's house to get like a prayer cleared. And yeah, if he wasn't doing that stuff for Deadpool and Wolverine, he would have been taking care of the kids, so they weren't stuck on a film set all day, boring film set.
The iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you know. But he wrote it.
It sounds like Blake oversold how much of that scene Ryan wrote.
She is also a marketing genius.
But it's a smart marketing move. Like, look, this is the first film that she executive produced, so yeah, she has a financial interest in this movie doing well. It's not just like she's got an actor's paycheck before she started this film. And why not use your husband, who's starring in a movie that just passed $1 billion at the box office?
The guy's a creative genius, and they work so well together.
It's not every day the husband gets to interview his wife's love interest in a film. It's kind of crazy.
I don't remember seeing this on the schedule.
Dive in, shall we?
And he does a playful video with the sweet romantic love interest in this movie, not with the guy who played the abuser in this movie. Like, that could be seen as making light of domestic violence. And you certainly don't want an image of Ryan hugging the on-screen abuser on the red carpet either. And yeah, that's the other aspect I'm noticing in the marketing of this film, which is Sony Pictures. It's not Blake Lively deciding this. It's Sony Pictures' publicity team doing this. But yeah, they're really downplaying that aspect, because the reality is that's probably going to limit its commercial appeal somewhat. I'm not minimizing the story or the importance of the story, but the reality is that kind of very dark subject matter, like, you're not going to have people running through the theater to see that. So yeah, they're downplaying that element to really kind of try to bring a lighter tone to the press tours.
There's a lot of levity in Lily in the book in her thoughts, less in her dialogue, but more in her thoughts. So there's a lot of humor.
So now to the point that Justin and Blake aren't doing interviews together. First off, yeah, actors normally don't do interviews together on the press tour. In terms of a junket, actors are normally on their own in the room. Yeah, I noticed that Blake didn't do any solo interviews, even with the media bigwigs. Flat out the reason for that, she wants to keep the Ryan questions to the minimum.
We work very, very, very hard, and we completely immerse ourselves in our work. But who we are is defined by our personal life so much more than our work.
She's with Jenny Slate for Entertainment Tonight. For Access Hollywood, she's with Brendan and the author. Extra got 10 minutes, so they had the 3 other actors with Blake. Now you're wondering, why is Justin never that second person? Because Justin on his own is going to run on broadcast television. So if you have an interview with all these people, you're not going to run an interview with Brendan, let's say. You're going to run an interview with Justin. Because these other actors play supporting roles, so there's not much to ask them anyways.
Hey, Justin Baldoni, you see, we've been talking to you all morning long.
Justin has enough appeal on his own as a guest that they can pitch him solo.
As a man, I'm always going to come with my own biases. And it's one of the reasons I was afraid to direct this movie, let alone act in it. And I wanted to make sure this film always had a female gaze, and I was never putting myself into it.
And he was on the Today Show solo as well.
It was the only way that I could direct this movie is if I had a group of women specifically behind me who are specialists in this space.
But yeah, Blake wasn't doing interviews solo. So yeah, you have Brendan with her.
Also known as Blake Lively and Brandon Sklar. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gail. Nice to talk to you.
If Sony had pitched CBS, hey, you can have Blake and Justin together and you can have Brendan on its own, they would have said, oh, we'll take Blake and Justin. We don't want Brendan. So Sony would only get one segment on CBS mornings that week. So this way they had 2. So yeah, so Justin on his own, yeah, and then you have Blake. You need somebody as a buffer, so you have Brendan there. So that's why Justin is not with Blake for these interviews. Okay? Okay.
I don't know if you know how smart and creative she really is, and everything she touched, she made better.
So that's credible, the complete nonsense that people make out of this. And yeah, that's absolutely what's going on, is that Justin is trying to steer away that he was, the vision for this and having the male gaze on this. So he's trying to steer the conversation away from that. And I guess he's gone too far that now people think Blake was overstepping, but she was a producer on this anyways. So I don't get. So yeah, it's ironic that, yeah, women are coming down on Blake when, like, isn't this what we want? We want women to have a voice on set and not have a male tell her how to act in intimate scenes. Oh, okay, I'm done. I think my work is done here. Bye.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful that it's turned out the way that it has.